Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And this week, the UFC is in Baku for Hill taking on Rountree. And as always, the Ground and Pound podcast is going to hit you with the full card breakdown, starting off in the early prelims, heading to the main event. But with me is one man that knows no bounds. Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
Let's start things off in the early prelims, and I hope neither of these guys were that kid in school that ate the worm, but we've got Hamdi Abdelwahab taking on Mohammed Usman, and I'm going to pass this one over to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I don't know, man. Hamdi looked like he ate everything, brother. I think he ate the worm. He ate someone's lunch. Who knows? But I took Mohammed Usman in this one, brother. I think Hamdi should probably win this because he should use a lot of wrestling. My whole thing is I don't know if he has the gas tank to wrestle for 3 rounds and use the ground and pound. If he tries to get a lot of takedowns, if he tries to even control Usman on the ground, that might use up some of his gas tank. I think he'll revert back to just standing to strike. Not that Usman's the better striker. He's just willing to throw even if he's like dead tired on the feet. That's his only way to stay into this. So I'm thinking this fight's going to end up staying a stand-up war, and I'm going to go with Usman.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going with Usman as well. I pretty much see this fight as a fight that if Hamdi does wrestle, he can have success early, but I don't think he can sustain that over the course of 3 rounds. We saw in Hamdi's last fight that he did gas pretty much after the first round. He got a takedown, he mixed in the grappling, got tired, and then he pretty much was just winging fisticuffs for pretty much the whole second and third round. Pretty low volume, pretty much a split decision there with Jamal Pogues. And I just think with Usman, I think that this he's going to have a little bit more success keeping this fight upright. Usman does have a good jab, and he's obviously been taught that from his brother. And I think that he pretty much just peppers him with the jab, with the range advantage, the reach advantage that he has here. I think he's a little bit more athletic. I think he hits a little bit harder than Jamal Pogues. And I think that realistically here for Hamdi, he's got to land a big right hand and do a lot of damage in the second or third round here to have success. But I think Usman overall, the volume and that jab is just going to be pumped out there a million times. I think he wins on volume, and we see another Usman this week get his hand raised, and that would be 2 for 2 for the Usman family. And next up, we have Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Azamat Maksum, excuse me. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I am going with Ulanbekov in this one. I just think Ulanbekov's got the higher level wrestling. I also feel that he has the edge in the striking too. It's a little cleaner. He's not just winging punches. Plus Azmat, when he's winging punches, he's actually not very fast at all. He's not very quick. So I don't think he's going to get to the mark before Ulanbekov does. I see a little bit more sting on Ulanbekov's strikes once he connects, as opposed to. I'm going to try it one. Maksum, is that how we say it? Okay. Yeah. So, yep, that's who I'm taking is Ulanbekov. I just think he's going to overwhelm him with. If he wants to keep it on the ground, he'll keep it on the ground. Striking, I think he's got the edge there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were disappointed with Maksum when he came into the UFC. He had that 15-0 shiny record. People were obviously thinking, he's very highly of him, undefeated guy. They see the Kazakhstan flag, I think at that time as well, what's his name? What's the guy's name who's undefeated at welterweight that's from Kazakhstan? Who I'm thinking of? It'll come to me in a moment. But Maksum, big shiny record. I think that he kind of disappointed, and when we saw him in that Charles Johnson fight, he was outboxed. I think he kind of slowed down later on in that fight, and he's taken this one on short notice. I know that he wasn't the original opponent for Ulanbekov. Tagir Ulanbekov in the UFC has had fantastic wrestling. Obviously a Team Khabib protege. He's obviously been training with Khabib and his father for a very long time. And I just think that, like Carlos said, I think the wrestling's going to be too much here. I think on the feet, I do think that Maksum could maybe catch him with a head kick or a big shot. But ultimately, I think the wrestling here gets it done. I think we're just going to see a heavy wrestling game plan here. Azamat ultimately either gets submitted on the ground or controlled for 3 rounds. But I just don't see a way that Ulanbekov loses this one. He is a big favorite for reason. I feel fairly confident in him here, and I don't see a way that Azamat really gets this one done, especially on short notice. And next up, we have Arina Alekseeva taking on Klaudia Syguła. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I took Klaudia Syguła. Okay, I think both women are educated on the ground. Alekseeva, okay, her striking and movement looks very stiff. You know, I just don't. I don't see why on the feet in one of her last fights, like they thought she was kind of the bully on the feet. It was a little awkward. Like I can't even really describe how stiff it is, but it's like there's no looseness, there's no movement, there's no snap. That's just how she is on her feet. That's fine because apparently she's very good on the ground. But Syguła has a little bit more on the feet. She's willing to swing. It's not pretty. It's a little, it's a little wild, but she gets the job done. And I can see like at times, Alekseeva, when she throws, she kind of brawls a little bit. Like she'll throw a couple of punches and bunches, and her chin comes up. Like I said, not very educated, but enough to if she can get you on the ground. That's all she's kind of leading to. Syguła seems to be a bit more patient when she's looking for openings on the feet, and so I went with Syguła. I think she's going to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more educated. She's going to find the openings a little bit quicker than Alekseeva.
Shavkat Rakhmonov was the name I was trying to think of in that last fight. I had to Google that while Carlos was breaking that one down there. But a little bit of dissension here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Thank you. I'm actually going to go with Alekseeva, Arina Alekseeva. The Russian Ronda, as she is named, but she's nothing like Ronda Rousey, let's be honest. But I used a term for a fight a couple of months back where I was talking about horse shit and dog shit. That reference rings true here to me in both of these two women. This looks like something they'd throw on the bottom of a PFL or Bellator card. What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen? But I just think Arina, I trust her to be a little bit more aggressive in this fight. I feel like Klaudia, she looks to get fights to the ground, but she doesn't necessarily have means to get the fight to the ground. The striking just seems a little bit pitter-pattery. It doesn't necessarily seem like she has the power to really sting and hurt people. She doesn't have the wrestling. I think Arina just shows that she can put up volume and be aggressive. Her knee bar victory over Stephanie Edgar impressed me somewhat. I do think that Stephanie Edgar would probably mop the floor with a woman like Klaudia. I just trust the Russian toughness, the grittiness, the grappling. And I just think that overall she's going to put up more volume here than Klaudio. And would I be surprised if I was wrong and Carlos was right and Klaudio was able to pull this off? Hell no. Russian Ronda, sure, give me her out of these two absolute dog shit level UFC fights that we've got on this particular card. Give me the Russian to get it done.
You can't do that to me, man. I made them sound like athletes. You had to give them a shot. You know how much that took for me to do that, man? Like, I sat down. I was like, what can I say to make this sound like the fight of the night? And there you are. Dog shit
and dog
versus
shit.
horse shit. Go ahead, brother. Go
ahead. Next up, we have Melissa Mullins taking on Daria Zheleznyakova. And I'm going to pass this one over to Carlos. Who you got in this fantastic, spectacular fight?
Well, in this spectacular fight, Mullins is actually a pretty solid fighter. Okay, Zheleznyakova. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. Zheleznyakova. She's got some decent. I'm gonna say at least boxing. Her hands look pretty good. Okay, Mullins on the feet, she doesn't look too bad. What I do see here is that I feel like from the last fight that I saw them in, it's probably going to go the same way. Mullins is going to do enough to get a takedown and probably just be able to control her because if anyone's ever seen Zheleznyakova fights, once she goes down, she's never getting back up. So Mullins was able to get her down in the first fight and just ground and pound it until the ref stopped it. So now that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Do I see Zheleznyakova coming out with a little extra fire to stop that? No, I don't. I just see it's going to go that way. Mullins probably getting a finish.
Yeah, like Carlos mentioned, a rematch here for these two. Melissa Mullins getting the first round ground and pound victory. We love that here on the Ground and Pound podcast for obvious reasons. But Melissa Mullins, to me, decent, in terms of grappling and jiu-jitsu. She did have that one kind of asterisk against Nora Cornell, which is not a loss that's aged very well, getting finished to the body there. Mullins has previously trained over at Team Renegade with Leon Edwards. She is a double gold BJJ world champion in no-gi. And like Carlos said, I'm going to say Daria. I'm not even going to go for that last name. Daria, the cat's out of the bag. This girl can't defend a takedown. Mullins' whole game plan and her whole setup for every fight is to get fights to the ground and find the submission or fight in the ground and pound. She did it in the first fight. Why overcomplicate it here? I think that she's improved since then. My only real concern here with Mullins is that she has struggled to make weight in the past. I just worry that if Daria can survive on the ground or she can defend takedowns, what does Mullins look like if she has a poor weight cut and she struggles to get the fight to the ground? But I think ultimately she does. I don't think that we see anything different here, apart from maybe Mullins finishes her quicker in the first round, maybe by a submission this time. But Daria does have nice kickboxing. She does have nice stand-up, but ultimately it's that poor takedown defense that costs her here. I think Melissa Mullins gets it done with the grappling, with the finish, and I definitely don't think this one goes the distance. And next up, we have Oban Elliott, who was supposed to fight I think it was about a month ago, a couple of weeks back over in the Apex. Now getting a new opponent here in Phuket, almost said Phuket, over in Azerbaijan. And we have got him taking on a name that I'm going to struggle with, Seokhyeon. And I'm going to kick things off here. Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster, pretty much sort of a wrestler boxer. He does have good takedown defense. The wrestling is pretty decent. People do struggle to take him down. The striking is kind of just okay. He doesn't tend to throw a ton of kicks. But I got to say, he looks pretty decent here. I got to say, I almost decided to pick him, but I am going to go with Oban Elliott. I just think that Oban Elliott's just going to prove to be a little bit too much. I think he's going to be tough. I do think the odds are very wide on this one. I do think Ko could definitely, kind of upset the apple cart here. I was reading or seeing on the Contender Series that he's the first Korean World Sambo champion. So he does have grappling in the back pocket, stands southpaw as well. Very nice left hand. And he looked pretty impressive. I don't think he should be almost a 3-1 underdog here. I think that's crazy. I do think that Elliott can kind of maybe mix in the takedowns and kind of just make this a boring fight. Knees to the thigh, that kind of thing. Maybe just kind of use a little bit more of his boxing and just kind of pressure forward. Elliott's proven to be tough. He's proven to have a good chin. I am going to pick him here, but I think these odds are crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if Ko manages to win this one. But it is his UFC debut, so maybe the lights are too bright for him. Give me Elliott here. Carlos, who you got in this one?
Okay, you took Elliott. I was going back and forth with this one. I'll go with Ko. Okay.
I don't blame you.
Elliott looks good. You know what I mean? He's getting better in every fight, too. Sharp striking. Good takedown defense. Very good takedown defense. Actually, not a lot of... I don't think the takedowns is going to be a factor in this matchup for some reason. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a stand-up war. But if there's going to be takedowns, it's going to be late, and it's going to be Ko looking for those takedowns. In the clinch, Oban Elliott does some good work. Knees, short punches, elbows on the inside, loves to work up against the cage. He will hurt guys in the clinch. That's what's very interesting is his takedown defense is good, but if you try to smother him, he's going to find a little bit of room and he's going to make you pay for it. That's one of the qualities I love watching about him. Now, with Ko, he's a heavy puncher. They're very looping. They're more of a sambo-based striking is where he comes from. He's got good grappling. He's going to have good submissions. I'm sure he's going to be well educated on the ground. I do feel he's going to struggle to take Elliott down. That's why I feel early it's going to be a stand-up war. Maybe by mid round 2 into 3. If Elliott's getting the edge, I think Ko's going to mix it up and take him down. But yeah, I'm going to go with him. I feel that he can land a bomb in an exchange. Sometimes Elliott tends to fade back a little bit. When he fades back, it's not that he's not defensively sound. It's just I could see Ko coming up over the top with one of those looping shots, I'll take him.
Yeah, I don't blame you, to be honest with you. With Carlos and I were saying before the show that I think this fight is definitely a lot closer than the odds suggest. I definitely think maybe even a +3.5 on the spread here for Co might be something that sneaks into the best bets video this week, even though I am picking Oban Elliott, because I think this guy Co could definitely win at least one round with a bomb or a big shot. He could definitely, I don't want to say put the lights out because Elliott's tough, but I definitely think he could win at least one round. And next up, we have Young Park, the Iron Turtle, taking on another name who I'm going to butcher. We've got Ismail Naurdiev. And I like Park in this one. I know that Park is getting up there a little bit in age, but I just think stylistically what both of these guys like to do, I think Park has the advantage here. Park pretty much is a boxer wrestler. He does pressure forward. He doesn't throw a ton of kicks. He is high volume, good cardio. And he just doesn't stop. He just keeps coming forward. And to me, Naurdiev, obviously he's returned to the UFC. He was able to get the victory over Bruno Silva. Didn't necessarily teach us a whole lot. Bruno Silva obviously been on a big losing streak, not necessarily looked himself ever since that Alex Pereira loss. But Naurdiev can mix in the wrestling. He has good kickboxing, but when he strikes, he likes to keep it at kicking range. He likes to be all the way in or all the way out. To me, I think that Park, what he can do here is he can just basically corral the kicker. If he pushes and pressures Naurdiev, I think that he can take the kicks away. I don't necessarily think that Park will get takedowns over and over again, rinse and repeat. I do think Naurdiev's wrestling is going to be good enough to keep this one out, on the feet. But I think Park can kind of beat him up in the clinch. I think the volume is definitely going to be on the side of Park. And I do think that without Naurdiev's kicks, I think that in the striking, I think Park's going to have success with the hands. And I just think overall this comes down to the fact that they call him the Iron Turtle for a reason. He does have a great chin. He is going to put up the higher volume. He's going to have the better boxing overall. And I just think that forward pressure and overall his sort of ring generalship here of him moving forward is going to win him this fight. I think the takedowns might come later on in the fight when Naurdiev does get a little bit more tired. But I'm taking Park here for the pressure, for the volume, for the boxing, and the overall experience here in the UFC. I think the UFC is pretty high on Naurdiev. I think that they do think that he is pretty good after re-signing him. And I do think he has a lot of potential, but give me Park to get it done. Carlos, who you got in this one?
I also took Park. He's got he's very heavy-handed, and in an exchange, he's going to get the best of Naurdiev. Okay. With that said, Naurdiev, he does have good in and out motion. He does have some good kickboxing. He likes to step in, step right back out. Problem is, he steps back out straight. And if you step back out straight and it's timed, whether he times you coming in or he times you going out, Park is a very heavy-handed guy. And if he catches you, if he clips you just a little bit, he could put you on Queer Street or he could put you out. And Naurdiev has been put out in the past. I do feel that he's slower. Naurdiev's going to have the advantage coming in and out. That's why timing is going to be huge for Park. And I also believe once this hits the ground, although Naurdiev is also skilled, he's very well versed on the ground. Park's wrestling is a little bit more top tier than his. And I think that heavy top pressure is going to smother. He's going to look for some ground and pound and submission there. And I don't think Naurdiev's going to have an answer for it.
2 here for Park to see if he gets it done on Saturday. And next up, we have Bogdan Grad taking on Mohammed Naimov. That was an easy one to say. I don't even know why I butchered that one, but I'm going to kick things off here. Naimov, he's going to be my pick. Former world champion in Taekwondo. Even though we do see a lot of kickboxing and a nice sort of point-style karate out of Grad. I think Grad's looked pretty impressive so far in the UFC. He was able to get that ground and pound victory over Lucas Almeida. And one of the things I do like about Grad is that, or Bogdan Grad, is that he's shown levels to his game. He came into the UFC Contender Series. He was a striker, forward pressure, very aggressive, nice kicks, nice hands, good cardio, tough, good takedown defense. And now in his last fight, he's mixed in a lot of the grappling, a lot of the wrestling. So it's good to see that he's able to sort of evolve as a fighter. But I just think here with Naimov that I think on the feet, Naimov is just going to be able to match Bogdan Grad. And I think in the wrestling, I just don't see Grad having the same success he had against Lucas Almeida. I think this one is a pretty close fight. I would definitely not talk anybody out of betting Bogdan Grad if they feel like there's plus money to be had. I think he's sitting at plus 180. I do like Bogdan Grad. I do think he has all the skills to win this fight. And I even said to Carlos before we got on here that Naimov has had pretty much an asterisk among every one of his performances inside the UFC. So I definitely think there's a chance here where Bogdan Grad, kind of pulls off the upset. But with Naimov, when he fought against a guy like Nathaniel Wood, he kicked Nathaniel Wood in the nuts 3 times. And I think that also led to him getting that victory. The other people he's fought aren't as necessarily that high level. I think Bogdan Grad is probably one of his more tougher opponents here. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off the upset. I'm just going to give Naimov a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, just to kind of mix in the wrestling and the striking here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Grad pulls it off. Carlos, who are you going with?
I'm going with that little beast, Bogdan Grad. He's I think he's going to be able to keep Naimov on the ground once he gets him down. My only issue is, how is he going to get him down? It's not the fact that he doesn't know how to wrestle. He knows how to wrestle pretty decently, but that's not his bread and butter. Whereas Naimov, I think, can peel his arms, down block. I think he could do everything to keep Grad from taking him down. I just think Grad is going to have to dig down and use a little bit of that strength and just bully him to the ground. And when he gets down there, that's when he's going to have to go to work. On the feet, Naimov is very quick, in and out, clean striking. I do think that Grad, though, could be the heavier hitter of the two. I don't think he's going to time him coming in. I do think he's just going to throw to catch him, or at least try to get him along the cage and try to get that takedown. That would be like best for your game plan, is to try to get this guy to the ground. But maybe there's some other skills on the stand-up that I don't know about him. He hasn't thrown a lot of kicks. That could be in his arsenal. He has said that in one of his last fights, that we haven't seen all the tools that he has in his box. So let him out, because you're going to need him. This guy's got the speed. He's got some power, and he's got the wrestling. I think Grad could do it. He surprised me in his last fight, and he is absolutely built like a tank. Put that body to work. Get this done for me. I am definitely going with this guy.
Dissension here, but I can't disagree. I do think Grad is very live. I think both of these guys are pretty much, well-versed wherever this fight goes, so it should be a good fight. And next up, we have Nazim Sadykhov taking on Nikolas Motta, and I'm going to pass this one over to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I'm going with Sadykhov. He's very slick defensively. When he leaves the pocket, he's got his hands up defensively. So Motta likes to throw a couple of hooks in succession. I don't see any one of those landing. Sadykhov keeps a high guard. What I do like is he takes those small little incremental movements in and out, and he does like to circle after he gets out. I like Motta. He's a strong puncher. He's got very heavy kicks. But there's really not a lot of preparation to what he's trying to do. Even when he goes for a takedown, if he does, he's trying to bully you. When he's trying to get an opening for a strike, he's just trying to muscle it in. Whereas Sadykhov is looking to find that opening, move in, mixes a takedown with a strike, and very well. In Motta's last fight, maybe he had to be this way against Mahashate because he was worried about that counter right hand. He was a little bit more patient. He was a little bit more relaxed, and he was keeping a high guard, waiting for an opening to strike. And I think that would work better for him against Sadykhov. But I don't know if that's the new Motta or if that was just what he did in preparation for that fight. But against Sadykhov, I think defensively he's going to have to be sound to get through this fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we're going to go back to Conspiracy Corner here as well. Azerbaijan fighter fighting on the Azerbaijan card. You know where we're going. We're going with Sadykhov here. We haven't gone to Conspiracy Corner for a while, but training out of Longo's gym. Obviously, a very credentialed wrestler, and he has shown in the past, with the submission victory, rear naked choke over Terrence McKinney, that he can mix in the grappling. In his last fight, got the doctor stoppage victory over Bomb Theme, and he's very well rounded. I like to see that he can mix things in, but In his, I think it was his UFC debut. I want to say it was his UFC debut. He did lose the first 2 rounds against Evan Elder and then was able to get that doctor stoppage cut. The guy mixes in elbows and knees in the clinch. I like everything I see about Sadykhov overall. Good cardio, good toughness, trains with high-level guys. And to me, Motta is one of these guys, and I was saying this to Carlos before we got on, that he was known as somebody that, he's kind of lucky to still be around. I think he lost 3 fights in a row. He had a no contest over Trey Ogden, where he was getting dominated, pillar to post in the grappling. He got submitted, but he didn't tap. The referee stopped it too early. It ended up being a no contest, which was unfair for Trey Ogden. But, he did come out and get the victory in his last fight against Marashate, but overall, when you compare Marashate to a guy like Sadykhov, I think wherever this fight goes, Sadykhov is going to be the better fighter. Motta does pack a punch. He is very heavy-handed, but I agree with Carlos. I think that Motta doesn't set up his strikes very well. I think he does pressure forward, but I think that pressure-heavy style with Sadykhov, I think he's going to counter him. I think he's going to put his lights out. And Motta, in 5 of his losses, I believe 4 of them have come by, it might even be all 5, I forget. It's either 4 or 5, have all been by him getting knocked out. I think Sadykhov finds the knockout here, and we get a conspiracy victory here for Conspiracy Corner for Sadykhov to get it done by KO. And next up, this is the one I'm really looking forward to. We have Mutabek Orolbai. For those of you that don't know, if you haven't seen that Rebecki fight in his last fight, go check it out. One of the best fights I've ever seen, taking on Tufo Musayev. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. The war of the words and the war of the letters in the names. Who you got on Saturday?
On Saturday, listen, Orolbai is a dog. All right. After that fight, like you had mentioned with Rebecki, they both showed me a little something. They got that extra. You could dig a little deep if you hurt and get through that round. You can get through that fight. So I'm a fan, Orolbai. But what I'm going to go with here is Musayev. Okay. Musayev's got good wrestling. Okay. He's got good in and out movement. He's got good striking. Sometimes he can get a little in love with trying to get that knockout, and he goes and he throws a couple strikes in combination, a little wild, and he might get clipped in that exchange with Orolbai. In the past, has he been clipped? No, not an exchange like that. He's fast, he's quick, he's sharp, but Orolbai's tough. And when you're throwing, at least in the Rebecki fight, Orolbai was throwing exactly when Rebecki was throwing, because that's the only time it was landing, which is when you should. I feel that Musayev has fought the better talent, okay, the higher level talent. And just with fights with Patricky Pitbull, like I was talking about to you, and Alexander Shabliy, I feel like, and he's given them problems. Like he beat Pitbull, and he gave Shabliy some problems. Shabli's a very good striker, and on the feet, he was having a problem with Musayev. So I am going to take Musayev. I think that Orolbai is going to have to dig deep in this one, and it's just going to be a great fight for the fans. I think this is going to be another Rebecki fight that we're getting ready to see.
A little bit of Conspiracy Corner, huh? You got the two, they got the Azerbaijan fighter fighting in Azerbaijan. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do think that Musayev is pretty good. I do think that he is pretty decent. I like his counter striking. His striking looks pretty good, but I'm going with Mutabek Orolbai, man. He looks like a guy that they defrosted, and he's been, kind of in frozen captivity for 3,000 years, and he was among the dinosaurs. This guy is a different fucking breed. This guy is something else. I encourage everybody to watch that Rebecki fight if you understand what I'm saying. If you know, you know. But trains over at Team Alpha Male, and I think you're right, Faber knew what he had when he picked this guy up and told him to come and train with him and his team, because he is the epitome of toughness. The striking still, needs a little bit of work, but it's there. It's fundamental. He can strike. He can knock you out. He's decent kickboxing. But where I think he's going to win this fight is the grappling. I think that what's going to happen here is that when I watch Musayev, I think that he falls in love with the knockout. I believe 18 of his 22 wins have all come by a knockout. I think sometimes he looks to really sit down on his punches. I think Orolbai is going to kind of draw out the shot and go for the takedowns here. I think heavy wrestle game plan. When we saw him fight early before that Rebecki fight, he was pretty much a grappler. He liked to get fights to the ground, look for the submission, look for the ground and pound. That's exactly what I think he does here, especially after taking so much damage in his last fight. I think that, they know over there at Team, Alpha Male, let's get this fight to the ground. Let's not take so much damage. And a lot of, out of the 5, I want to say it's either 4 or 3 of Musayev's losses have all come via submission. I do think that Musayev is decent in terms of the grappling. He does have good takedown defense, but I think Orolbai is going to be relentless here in the grappling. I think he ducks under those shots. I think he mixes in the grappling here. And I think my 3,000-year-old cave-dwelling friend here gets it done here. And I'm just going to let everybody know the parlay of the week here for the best bets is going to be Orolbai and Tagir Ulanbekov. I think those two get it done this week. I like Orolbai in a big way this week for our Slam of the Week parlay. And next up, we have Curtis Razor Blaydes. He might as well be blunt at this point with the way his career is going. Taking on, how do I pronounce this one? Rizvan Kuniev. I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name, but I'm just going to say this off the bat. I don't trust either one of these guys. Kuniev, he fought over in the PFL. He beat Renan Ferreira, the 6'8" giant doing backflips, and he popped for steroids. And then all of a sudden the UFC's like, yeah, you know what? He'd be a great signing for a guy that, does illegal steroids. So they have him inside the UFC. He went on the Contender Series. He got a knee in the clinch victory KO, and we haven't seen him since. So it'd be interesting to see what he looks like. He looks like a fat piece of shit on this picture. I don't know who or what. Oh, I'm sorry about body shaming, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't care. He looks terrible. But when he was in the Contender Series, he didn't look that great. The opponent wasn't that great. So it's really hard to get a good read on whether we're going to see a steroided up Kuniev or whether he's going to see the fat, out of shape Kuniev. But one thing that can't be sure is the inconsistency or the consistency of Curtis Blaydes' inconsistency. He refuses to wrestle. I wish he did wrestle in a lot of his fights. I don't know if it's because he fell in love with his hands a long time ago and he just refuses to wrestle. But I think this fight is from a betting standpoint, stay the hell away from it. I'm picking Curtis Blaydes, but I wouldn't be surprised with Dana White and the UFC changing all of these, the USDA drug rules or whatever, that Kuniev comes in steroided up and just smashes Curtis Blaydes. But I'm going with Blaydes, but I wish he wrestled. He's probably not going to, but staying the hell away from this from betting standpoint. Carlos, who are you going with?
I'm also taking Curtis Blaydes. I'm going to say, when was he on steroids? Maybe he looked a little bit better at that point, because right now we got our little fatty Bombaddy over here. And right now, I think Curtis Blaydes, this should be an easy matchup for you. Just go to the body on this guy. It's going to be soft. You're never going to break your hand. And you're going to take the gas out of him. I also think Curtis Blaydes could take this guy down whenever he feels like it. Curtis Blaydes has very good wrestling, and he takes down anybody whenever he really feels like it. And that's the problem, like you said, whenever he really feels like it. I'm taking Curtis Blaydes, but if he chooses to come out and go to the feet, like stand up, I think he should get the best of Kuniev on the feet as well. Kuniev doesn't have a lot of volume. Curtis has the reach advantage. He's got to come exploding in. Curtis could keep him at distance, use some kicks, use some punches, keep him off of you. And that should be the game plan if it stays on the feet, but mix in some takedowns. There's no problem wrestling this guy. The only thing I could think of is Dana White saying, hey, don't go down there and wrestle this guy and lay on him, is the only reason why he probably doesn't do it. Or he has PTSD from Derek Lewis, one of the two.
Yeah, I want to see which Curtis Blaydes shows up and which Kuniev shows up, the steroided up version, the pictogram version, or the buffet version. And next up,
I like the buffet version.
I like the buffet version too, especially if it's Chinese. For the co-main event, this one I'm excited for. I got to say, this should be a great fight as long as it lasts. We have Ignacio Bahamundes taking on Rafael Fiziev. And I'm going to kick things off here. Carlos already knows where I'm going with it. For the people that know on the Ground and Pound podcast, if you don't know, now you know. Dog of the week, Ignacio Bahamundes. He is a fucking problem at lightweight. 155, 6'3". The range and the reach advantage doesn't necessarily contribute to the size of this guy, but he does train over in Chicago with Bilal Mohammed. Bilal Mohammed used Ignacio Bahamundes for his Leon Edwards training camps. And Ignacio Bahamundes is just very impressive. I love his step back right hand. When he knocked out Torres, when Torres runs in wild and he just sort of leans back and just gets out of range, throws that right hand. It's beautiful. He has really, really nice anacondas, Das chokes. The kid's just on an absolute mission right now to get to the top. Obviously, Fiziev standing in his way. 3-fight losing streak for Fiziev, but they have been against some of the higher level guys, Justin Gaethje, for example. So he is the top of the division. My only concern here for Fiziev is I just don't understand how he's going to get on the inside here of Bahamundes. Obviously, Bahamundes is my favorite betting underdog dog of the week. I'll leave a link for that video. Obviously, at the end of this video, stay tuned. Keep an eye out for that. It will go into a little bit more detail. You can watch the highlight reel tape of all of Bahamundes' finishes. But I like him in a big way this week. He opened as the underdog. I believe he might even be now the favorite here over Fiziev. But I just think that Fiziev's going to have a hard time getting on the inside here against Bahamundes. He's not the better grappler. Bahamundes is. He's got the longer limbs. I just don't really see a way that Fiziev gets this one done. It might be a dog fight. He might catch him with something big, but ultimately I think Bahamundes gets this done wherever it goes, whether it be choke from sloppy takedown or counter right hand or just using his range, spinning back kick, who knows. Either way, Bahamundes is pulling it out. We're getting back on track with the dog of the week this week. Favorite betting underdog. Give me Bahamundes. Carlos, who you got in the co-main event?
Sorry to disappoint you, and I'm going back to the conspiracy corner again because I'm going with the countryman, Rafael Fiziev. Okay, I like Bahamundes. I think he's great, and I think he's been getting better every time he gets in the ring. He's looking sharper. He's looking smoother. He's picking up new weapons. I like that he likes to throw different strikes, mix things up. He's got spinning attacks. He's got the cycling knees that he throws when he jumps through the air. And in close with Fiziev, he's got elbows, he's got knees. He loves to get you in the plum clinch. I think that's a very good plan for someone like him. I just think Fiziev is not going to allow you to do that. I think he's going to beat you from outside. He's going to rip that lead leg. He's going to come in and out. He's going to use his speed, his quickness, his high volume, because that's the one thing Bahamundes does not have is high output. He doesn't have bad cardio. He just doesn't have high output. And Fiziev does. And what he does is when he comes in, he'll throw a couple of strikes on the way in, which means if you retreat, he'll just step back to catch his breath. That's where I think he's going to get that little rest that he needs to go for the next strike. And when you got all those fast twitch muscles and you're trying to rip those shots, I think it works in your favor. So I'm taking Fiziev. I think high volume from him is going to work. And I think for Bahamundes, if he can keep him at distance, use that long jab, use the teep. When he comes in, elbows and knees, I think he'll get the advantage. But right now, I don't see that happening, and I see Fiziev winning this one.
If you're sitting in conspiracy theory corner this week, let us know in the comment section below. If you're on the dog of the week train, let us know in the comment section. We want to hear from you. Hit that like and subscribe button while you're at it down there in the comments as we break down the main event of the evening. Jamal Hill taking on Khalil Rountree. And then the main event over in Baku. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in the main event?
So it's really hard for me to talk about it because I hear that Jamal Hill has good jiu-jitsu, okay? We have not seen any of that. I don't even think he has a fight won by submission, okay? I'm not sure. But what we do see is his right hand, okay? In his last fight against Prohaska, he's landing the right hand, but it's not doing anything to him. Now, is Prohaska a abnormally tough guy? Yeah, he's a pretty tough guy. But does Rountree take that same abuse? What I'm thinking is, I don't know what type of injury or which leg was injured, but I know he had an Achilles injury, okay? And I'm like, is that taking something off of his right hand? Because it looked like it did absolutely nothing to Prohaska, and for some reason I feel like it's going to do absolutely nothing to Khalil Rountree. The way Rountree fought Pereira, just blitzing in, not the best thing to do against Pereira, but Pereira was also worried about his power. I think the key for Khalil Rountree is the wide stance of Hill, rip that lead leg, keep ripping that lead leg, force him to throw his rear punch. Once he throws it, just keep attacking that front leg, and eventually he'll start to wither. I don't know why, because I thought Jamal Hill was like a really, not a really talented guy, but I thought the tools that he had, he could use it just right. Right now, I think he's in love with the knockout, and that's not the key to his game. At this level here, I think that Rountree could put him out with one shot. I think that he could tear up that leg. I think that he can actually make Hill mentally give up in this fight and ultimately physically giving up. And I think Khalil Rountree's got it. I didn't write a lot on this. I don't think I wrote anything on this. I can't see Jamal Hill winning a high level fight against a top 5 guy with his last outing.
Yeah, I've struggled to get to picking Hill in a lot of his last few fights. I don't necessarily trust where his head's at, especially after the Alex Pereira KO loss that he had. He's just not seemed to be there mentally and the same, like going into a gym and challenge him to a fight, and then Alex is like, here, put some gloves on, let's spar, and he's like, yeah, okay, let's fight, and he didn't want to fight. It's like the weirdest thing. I don't know, maybe he's watching too much WWE. I don't know what's going on with the guy. Khalil Rountree, obviously, I actually think he had a good showing against Alex Pereira. I don't think he was going to win that fight, but I think he had more moments in that fight than I was expecting. And to me, this fight really just comes down to the fact that I don't trust Hill at all. So I'm definitely just going to pick Rountree for that reason. I think it's going to be the Muay Thai of Rountree taking on the kickboxing of Hill. And Carlos hit the nail on the head. He said exactly what I was going to say. I think that just Rountree just beats up that lead leg. I think the one fight where Rountree had that excellent display of Muay Thai, I'd like to see him get back to that with the bouncing front leg, just constantly just chipping away at the lead calf of Hill. I think that'll have great success. Cause a lot of discomfort in that lead leg. I think that might take away some of the sting and his ability to kind of use his power and lean into his shots. And then Joe Rogan can sit and enjoy that fight, with the heavy calf kick and talk about how compromised his calf is. But I don't think there'll be a lot of wrestling in this one. I think it'll be back and forth striking for as long as it lasts. I think Rountree will probably get it done, maybe by a late stoppage, maybe in rounds 3 or 4. But give me Rountree here to get it done with the striking. I don't trust Hill anymore. And even though Rountree, is 35, he made a good account of himself against Alex, so I don't see a reason not to pick him here against Hill. And that wraps things up here for the full card breakdown of UFC Baku, Hill taking on Rountree. But you might be asking yourself, all right, I'm done watching this video, but there's more to watch. We got the dog of the week. As I mentioned, Ignacio Bahamundes this week. Check out the full highlight reel tape. The link should be popping up on your screen very shortly. And there is also another event this week. If you didn't know, now you know we have the semifinals of the PFL World Tournament, the men's lightweight, the women's flyweights. We've done a full card breakdown here on the channel for the Ground and Pound podcast. Check that one out as well. And we have the best bets coming to you shortly for the PFL. There'll also be a best bets video for this week's UFC card. If you want to make some money, if we want to slaughter Ian Parker over ESPN Bet, you know where it's at. UFC best bets. We're on a hot streak right now with our dog of the week. We're on a hot streak right now with our parlay, our slam parlay of the week. Tune in for that video. It's going to be a good one. Carlos, what do you want to say to the people?
I want to say, I hope you guys are enjoying the content. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I don't know. That's all I got for him.
Early card this week, people. Remember, it is over in Azerbaijan. I love when we get an early card, especially for a UK guy that has to stay up really late for these fights. But I'm going to do it anyway. Enjoy the content. Enjoy the channel. Enjoy the fights. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.